The family sent 200 wedding invites with my farm's address without asking me. I'm Auntie Jasmine, and I found out my niece sent 200 wedding invitations with my farm's address listed as the venue without asking me first. By the wedding day, she learned what happens when you try to steal from a black woman who spent 40 years building something from nothing. Let me tell you, when that invitation showed up in my mailbox 3 months before the big day, I stood there on my front porch in the Tennessee heat, staring at the fancy cardstock like it was written in a foreign language. The honor of your presence is requested at the marriage of Brittany Morrison and Jason Chen at Jasmine's Meadow Farm, 1247 Oakwood Road. That's my address, my farm. My 40 acres that I bought with my own money after working double shifts at the hospital for 15 years. I read it 3 times, then I called my sister Denise. Did you get one? I asked. Get what, Jas? An invitation to Brittany's wedding. Oh yeah, isn't it beautiful? She's getting married at your place. I'm so excited. It's going to be gorgeous with all those fields, and I hung up. My hands were shaking so bad I had to sit down on my porch swing. They weren't asking. They had already told 200 people that my farm was their wedding venue. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the same oak table I'd refinished myself when I first bought this place, and I couldn't move. The invitation sat in front of me like evidence of a crime I didn't even know had been committed. My coffee had gone cold. The old clock on the wall ticked away the seconds, each one feeling like a countdown to something I didn't understand yet. Had I been such a fool? I'd raised that girl. Her mama, my sister Denise, was always working, so Brittany spent half her childhood here on this farm. I taught her to ride horses, to collect eggs from the chicken coop, to respect the land and understand that nothing worth having comes without hard work. When she graduated high school, I gave her $2,000 toward college. When she got her first apartment, I gave her my grandmother's china. And this is how she repaid me. My throat felt tight. The room seemed smaller somehow, like the walls of my own home were closing in. I'd worked too hard for this place to let anyone, even family, disrespect me like this. But I forced myself to breathe, to think. Getting angry wouldn't help me understand what was really happening here. I picked up my phone and looked at the invitation again. The wedding was scheduled for June 15th, 3 months away. The invitation listed cocktail hour at 5 p.m., ceremony at 6 p.m., reception to fall. It mentioned parking attendance, a seated dinner, and dancing until midnight. This wasn't a small family gathering. This was a full production, and they expected me to provide the venue for free. I remembered when Brittany was 7 years old, how she'd follow me around this property like a little shadow. Auntie Jasmine, she'd say, tugging on my sleeve, can we pick strawberries today? Her eyes would light up when I said yes, and she'd run to get the baskets, her braids bouncing behind her. We'd spend hours in the strawberry patch, her little hands staining red with juice. She'd eat more than she'd pick, and I'd laugh and tell her it was okay. That's what childhood was for, making memories, tasting sweetness. When she was 12, I taught her to drive the tractor. She was scared at first, but I sat right beside her and told her she could do anything she set her mind to. Auntie Jasmine, she'd said, what if I mess up? Then you learn, I told her. That's all any of us can do. By the time she was 16, she was helping me run the farm stand every summer. We'd wake up before dawn to pick the vegetables, arrange them in neat rows, price everything fairly. She was good with customers, charming and sweet. People loved buying from her. You're going to do great things, I told her one evening as we counted the day's earnings. You've got a good heart. She'd hugged me tight. I learned from the best, Auntie Jasmine. I'd believed her. God help me, I'd believed every word. The last time she visited was Christmas, 6 months ago. She brought Jason, her fiancé, a clean-cut young man who worked in finance. They'd stayed for dinner, and I'd made all her favorites: fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread. She'd raved about everything, told Jason how I made the best food in the world. Auntie J, she'd said that night, helping me with dishes, I want my life to be like yours, peaceful, built on something real. I'd kissed her forehead. You will, baby. You will. Now it all felt like a lie, like she'd been studying me, learning my weaknesses, figuring out what she could take. How did we get here? The next morning, I called Brittany. I needed to hear her voice to give her a chance to explain. Maybe there was some misunderstanding. Maybe she'd been trying to reach me and couldn't get through. Maybe, hey, Auntie J. Her voice was bright, cheerful, without a trace of guilt. Brittany, baby, I got something in the mail yesterday. Oh, still nothing. Still that light, carefree tone. An invitation to your wedding. Oh my God, yes, aren't they beautiful? Jason's mom designed them, cost a fortune, but they're worth it. I gripped the phone tighter. Brittany, the invitation says the wedding is at my farm. I know, isn't that perfect? I've always dreamed of getting married there. All those fields, the sunset over the pond, the barn we could use for the reception. It's going to be magical. My blood ran cold. You never asked me. A pause. What? You never asked if you could use my farm for your wedding. Another pause, longer this time. Then she laughed, actually laughed. Auntie Jay, come on, it's family. I didn't think I needed to ask. You've always said what's yours is mine, right? That's not Brittany, this is a business. This is my property. You can't just look, I've got to run, dress fitting in 20 minutes. We'll talk about details later, okay? Love you. Click, she'd hung up on me. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at nothing. That conversation had confirmed everything I feared and more. She wasn't asking permission. She was informing me of what was going to happen, like I was staff she'd hired, not the woman who'd helped raise her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. There was more to this than just entitlement. You don't send out 200 invitations without serious planning, without venue deposits and vendor contracts and God knows what else. I got up at 5 a.m., made myself a pot of coffee, and sat down at my computer. Time to do some research. It didn't take long. Brittany's Instagram was public. I scrolled through her posts from the past 6 months, and there it was, the breadcrumb trail I'd been too trusting to notice before. November. Found the perfect venue for our big day. Private estate with gardens, pond, and endless charm. December. Met with the most amazing caterer today. June can't come soon enough. January. Booked our photographer. This wedding is coming together beautifully. February. Linens chosen, florals designed, cake tasting tomorrow, living my best bride life. Every post. Every single post about her wedding. Never once did she mention that the private estate was my farm. Never once did she tag me or thank me. But the comments told the whole story. Wow, private estate? That must be costing your parents a fortune. Brittany's reply. Actually, we got a huge family discount. Basically free, we're so blessed. Another comment. You're so lucky your aunt has that farm. My venue cost $15,000. Brittany's reply. I know, right? It pays to have family in the right places. I felt sick. She was bragging about using my property, bragging about getting it basically free, taking credit for being clever enough to exploit a family connection. But it got worse. I found her Pinterest board public, of course. She'd pinned hundreds of ideas for Jasmine's Meadow Farm wedding. Ceremony set up in my south pasture, reception in my barn, cocktail hour by the pond. She'd even pinned specific photos of my property with captions like, "This is where we'll say I do," and "Can't wait to transform this barn." Transform my barn? The barn I'd spent 3 summers restoring myself. My hands were trembling as I kept scrolling. She had vendor contacts listed. A caterer expecting to serve 200 people. A bartender planning a full open bar. A DJ with extensive equipment. Rental companies for tables, chairs, linens, a dance floor, and a 40x60 tent, just in case of rain. All scheduled for my property on June 15th. All confirmed and contracted. And I hadn't agreed to any of it. The rational part of my brain told me to call her immediately, to shut this down before it went any further. But something stopped me. Some instinct I'd developed over 54 years of life was telling me to wait, to watch, to learn, because here's what I knew: Brittany wasn't stupid. Entitled, yes. Selfish, clearly, but not stupid. She knew this was wrong. She knew she should have asked me, which meant she had a reason for not asking. A reason she thought justified this behavior. I needed to know what that reason was, so I called the one person I knew would help me without judgment. Mrs. Patricia Chen, my lawyer and friend of 20 years. We'd met when I was buying this farm, and she'd helped me navigate every legal issue since. Patricia, I need your help. What's wrong, Jasmine? You sound upset. I explained everything. The invitation, the Instagram posts, the Pinterest board, the vendor contracts. When I finished, there was silence on the other end. Patricia, I'm thinking. More silence. Then, Jasmine, do you have any documentation about your property? Any signs, any written policies about use? It's a private residence. I never thought I needed. You need it now. Listen to me carefully. Don't confront her yet. I need to do some digging first. Can you meet me tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. at my office? I'll be there. And Jasmine, don't tell anyone about this call, not yet. That night was the longest of my life. I kept thinking about Brittany as a child, sweet and innocent. And I kept seeing those Instagram posts, that casual cruelty disguised as excitement. The disconnect was making me dizzy. Patricia's office was downtown, in a renovated historic building that still had the original crown molding and hardwood floors. I'd always loved coming here. It felt solid, permanent, like justice itself had weight and structure. Patricia was at her desk, surrounded by papers. She was a slim Korean woman in her 60s, with silver-streaked black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She gestured for me to sit. "I spent last night doing research," she said without preamble. "Tell me, has Brittany ever expressed interest in owning your farm?" "Owning? No, why would? Has she ever mentioned what would happen to the property when you die?" My stomach dropped. "Once, maybe twice. She said she hoped it would stay in the family." I told her I hadn't decided what I'd do with it yet. Patricia slid a paper across the desk. "This is a property record search. 3 months ago, someone requested a full appraisal of your farm." "Who?" "The request was anonymous, but it came through a real estate office where Jason's mother works." The room started spinning. "Jason's mother is a realtor." She was let go last year for ethical violations, but that's not all." Patricia pulled out more papers. "I made some calls." Brittany and Jason met with 3 different wedding venues last summer, all of them. They got quotes, did tour. Then suddenly in October, they canceled all of them. October, right before the invitations went out. Right before they started telling everyone the wedding was at your private estate. "Jasmine, I think they're planning something bigger than just a free wedding venue." "What do you mean?" Patricia looked at me with those sharp eyes. "I mean, I think they're planning to take your farm. And the wedding is part of their plan." I drove home in a daze. Take my farm? How was that even possible? This was my property, my name on the deed. My 40 years of mortgage payments, every penny earned through night shifts and double overtime at the hospital, through selling produce at farmers' markets, through sheer determination and will. But I'd been around long enough to know that where there's a will, there's a way, especially when greed is involved. And Patricia had been right too many times for me to ignore her instincts now. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. That evening, I did something I'm not proud of. I used the spare key Brittany had given me years ago, in case of emergencies, she'd said, and let myself into her apartment while she was at work. Jason was out of town on business, so I had the place to myself. I'm not a snoop by nature. Never have been. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and I needed answers. I found them in Jason's home office, in a folder labeled B&J Future Plans. The first document was the property appraisal Patricia had mentioned. My farm, valued at $1.2 million. The second was a business proposal for Jasmine's Meadow event venue. A full business plan for converting my farm into a commercial wedding venue, complete with projected earnings, $500,000 annually, renovation costs, $300,000, and a timeline for acquisition and conversion. The third document made my blood turn to ice. It was a draft of a legal document, not yet filed, but prepared by a lawyer. A claim that I had verbally promised the farm to Brittany as her inheritance. That I was elderly, 54 is not elderly, but apparently they thought it was, and becoming mentally confused. That I needed a guardian to help manage my affairs. They were planning to have me declared incompetent. And the wedding was supposed to be evidence of my confusion. According to notes in the margin, the plan was to let the wedding proceed on my property. Let me agree to host it. Then, after causing some kind of property damage or financial loss during the event, they'd claim I wasn't capable of managing the farm anymore. That I'd made poor decisions that endangered the property's value. Jason's handwritten notes at the bottom said, "Once guardianship established, can force sale. Split proceeds, used to start venue business. Jasmine can move to assisted living." Assisted living. They wanted to take everything I'd built and lock me away in some facility. I took pictures of every document with my phone. Every page, every note, every scheming sentence. My hands were steady now. The shock had burned away, leaving something harder and colder behind. These children had made a fatal mistake. They'd forgotten that I'd been fighting for what's mine since before they were born. They'd mistaken my kindness for weakness, my trust for stupidity. They were about to learn otherwise. I met with Patricia again the next day. This time, I brought my evidence. She went through every photo, her expression growing darker. "This is attempted fraud," she said finally. Possibly elder abuse, though you're not technically elderly, but the intent is clear. She looked up at me. Jasmine, we can shut this down right now. I can file for a restraining order, send cease and desist letters, make sure they can't come near you or your property. No, I said, no. I want them to go through with it. Patricia raised an eyebrow. Explain. Right now, all we have is documents they haven't filed yet, plans they haven't executed. If we stop them now, they'll just wait and try again later. They'll be more careful next time. I leaned forward. But if we let them think they're succeeding, if we let them commit to their plan completely, then we have them. Patricia smiled slowly. You want to let them hang themselves. I want them to face consequences for what they tried to do, real consequences. Then we need to be strategic. And we need help. She pulled out her phone. I know a private investigator, former FBI. If there's more to this, and I suspect there is, he'll find it. Marcus Webb was a tall black man in his 50s, with graying temples and the calm, assessing gaze of someone who'd seen it all. Patricia had recommended him, and within one meeting I understood why. He listened to my story without interrupting, took notes in a small leather notebook, and asked pointed questions that got to the heart of things. Mrs. Jasmine, he said when I finished, do you want to know everything even if it hurts? I need to know everything even if it destroys me, I replied. He nodded. Give me a week. That week was torture. I had to pretend everything was normal. I had to answer Brittany's texts about wedding details. Could she have access to the barn a week before to decorate? Would I be willing to mow the south pasture? Did I have recommendations for portable toilets? Each text was a knife in my back, but I responded sweetly. Of course, sweetheart. Whatever you need. I'm so excited for your big day. I smiled at breakfast as if nothing was wrong. I tended my garden, fed my horses, lived my life like I wasn't waiting for a bomb to drop. Marcus called on day 6. You're going to want to sit down for this, he said. I sat. First, the good news. Your instincts were right. This is bigger than just Brittany and Jason. His mother, Linda Chen, is the mastermind. She's been in financial trouble for years. Bad investments, gambling debts, the works. She was planning to use your farm as collateral for loans, then sell it and split the profits with Brittany and Jason. And the bad news. This isn't their first time. Linda tried this same scheme with Jason's grandmother 3 years ago. Different approach. She tried to get the grandmother to invest in a fake business, then planned to claim elder fraud when the money disappeared. The grandmother caught on and cut Jason off completely. He's not allowed anywhere near her. I felt sick. So he targeted my niece to get to me. Looks that way. There's more. I tracked their finances. They're broke. The wedding they're planning, they put everything on credit cards, maxed them all out. They're banking on your farm to save them. They were never going to pay for anything. Worse, they were planning to bill you. I found draft invoices in Jason's email. They were going to claim you volunteered to pay for the wedding as a gift, then sue you for the costs when you refused. The audacity, the sheer, breathtaking audacity. How much are we talking? $87,000. That's what they've spent so far on deposits and contracts. I couldn't speak for a moment. Finally, I asked, what else? Your sister, Denise. Did you know she's been meeting with Linda Chen? The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. My sister is involved. I don't think she knows the full plan, but Linda has been coaching her on what to say if anyone asks about your mental state. Denise thinks she's helping plan a surprise for you, a wedding gift of some kind. But Linda's been feeding her specific phrases about you being forgetful and confused about money lately. She's building a case. Exactly. And Jasmine. They were going to do it at the wedding. In front of 200 witnesses, they were going to present you with the bills, and when you couldn't pay, they were going to claim you'd promised to cover everything and forgotten. Start building the incompetence narrative right there. I closed my eyes. Do you have evidence of all this? Emails, text messages, recorded phone calls between Linda and Jason, financial records, the works. I've documented everything. Good, because I'm going to need it all. Patricia and I spent the next week preparing. We filed documents quietly without anyone knowing. We secured my assets, changed passwords, updated my will, created an ironclad paper trail proving my complete mental competence. We also did something else. We prepared a trap. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. We would let the wedding proceed exactly as Brittany and Jason intended. Let them spend money they didn't have. Let them bring 200 witnesses. Let them feel confident and secure. And then at the moment they thought they'd won, we'd spring the trap. But we needed help. We needed allies who could be trusted completely. I called my brother Marcus. Yes, same name as the investigator who lived 2 states away. He'd been estranged from Denise for years over a different betrayal, but he and I had always been close. When I explained what was happening, his response was immediate. I'll be there, whatever you need. I called my best friend, Dorothy, who'd known me since nursing school. She was a witness to every sacrifice I'd made for this farm, every hour I'd worked, every dream I'd built. Oh, honey, she said when I told her, that child has lost her mind. Will you help me? Just tell me when and where. I even called Brittany's father, Denise's ex-husband, Marcus S.R., who'd left when Brittany was young but still loved his daughter despite their complicated relationship. He deserved to know what his daughter was planning. Let me get this straight, he said slowly. She's trying to steal from Jasmine, from you, after everything you did for her. With her fiancé and his mother, yes. I'll be there. His voice was hard. My daughter needs to learn a lesson. The pieces were falling into place, but I needed one more thing. I needed the law on my side. Patricia made a call to the county sheriff, Tom Richardson. Tom had bought produce from my farm stand for years. His wife had beaten cancer, and I'd visited her in the hospital during her treatment, brought her fresh vegetables from my garden. We weren't close friends, but we knew each other. We had history. Patricia explained the situation to him, showed him the evidence. His face went dark. So they're planning to commit fraud on your property, then claim you're incompetent. That's the plan. And you want to catch them in the act. I want them to face justice. Tom nodded slowly. I'll need to bring in the DA. This is bigger than a property dispute. We're talking about attempted fraud, conspiracy, elder abuse statutes, even if you're not elderly. But if you're willing to let this play out, we can make a case that'll stick. I'm willing. Then here's what we'll do. The next 2 weeks flew by in a blur of secret preparations. On the surface, everything looked normal. Brittany texted me constantly with wedding updates. I responded cheerfully, played the part of the excited auntie. Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle, baby. It's going to be beautiful. I'm so proud of you. Each text made me feel dirty, but I kept going, because I knew what was coming. Behind the scenes, Patricia, Marcus the investigator, Sheriff Richardson, and the district attorney were building an airtight case. We had documentation of every fraudulent claim, every manipulative conversation, every cent they'd spent planning to bill me for. We had Linda Chen's history of financial fraud. We had Jason's emails discussing how to manage me after they took the farm. We even had recordings. Marcus had legally placed recording devices in my barn and around my property with proper warrants, all admissible in court to capture any incriminating conversations on the wedding day itself. The week before the wedding, Brittany and Jason came to check on things. I made them lunch, showed them around the property, smiled until my face hurt. Auntie Jasmine, Brittany said, hugging me, I can't thank you enough for this. You're making my dreams come true. Anything for you, baby, I lied. Jason shook my hand. We really appreciate this, Mrs. Jasmine. Not many people would open their home like this. Family is everything, I said, looking him right in the eye. Linda Chen came by 2 days before the wedding. She was a thin woman with sharp features and sharper eyes, dressed in expensive clothes that probably cost more than her bank account could handle. She walked around my property like she already owned it, making notes, taking photos. You have a beautiful place here, she said. Have you ever thought about what you'll do with it when you're older, when it becomes too much to manage? I smiled sweetly. Oh, I'm managing just fine, plan to for many years to come. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Of course. But it's good to plan ahead. Brittany mentioned you've been a bit forgetful lately. Did she now? Just little things, we all get that way as we age, nothing to be ashamed of. I was 54 years old, she was 59. I'll keep that in mind, I said. Thanks for your concern. After she left, I stood in my kitchen and felt the rage burn through me again. These people had no shame. They were going to take everything from me and convince themselves they were doing me a favor. Not anymore. The night before the wedding, I didn't sleep. I sat on my porch with a cup of chamomile tea, watching the stars, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. 40 years of work, 40 years of sacrifice, of waking up early and staying up late, of choosing this farm over vacations, over luxuries, over anything that wasn't building something permanent and real. And they thought they could just take it. Tomorrow, they'd learn otherwise. Dorothy came over at dawn. She helped me get dressed. I wore a beautiful purple dress, my grandmother's pearls, my good shoes. I looked like someone going to a wedding, which I was, just not the kind Brittany was expecting. You ready? Dorothy asked. I've been ready. The vendors started arriving at noon. The caterer, the florist, the rental company with tables and chairs. I watched from my kitchen window as they transformed my south pasture into a wedding venue. White chairs in neat rows, an arch covered in roses. Tables set with linens and centerpieces. It was beautiful, I had to admit that. Under different circumstances, I would have been happy to host this. To see my niece married in a place that meant so much to both of us. But these weren't different circumstances. At 3 p.m., my allies started arriving. Marcus, my brother, came first, then Dorothy's husband, then several of my farming neighbors who I'd quietly told what was happening. They were here as witnesses, as support, as a reminder that I wasn't alone. Sheriff Richardson arrived at 4 p.m. in plain clothes, along with 2 deputies also in plain clothes. They positioned themselves around the property, waiting. The district attorney, Sandra Michaels, came at 4:30. She was a black woman in her 40s, brilliant and fierce, with a reputation for not tolerating nonsense. When Patricia introduced us, Sandra shook my hand firmly. "Mrs. Jasmine, we're going to make sure justice is served today. You have my word." At 5 p.m., the guests started arriving. I recognized some of them distant family, Brittany's friends from college. They smiled at me, complimented the property, had no idea what was really happening. Brittany arrived at 5:30 in a limousine, wearing a wedding dress that probably cost more than some people's cars. She looked beautiful. She looked happy. She looked like someone who had no idea her world was about to end. When she saw me, she rushed over. "Auntie Jasmine, oh my God, doesn't everything look perfect?" "It does, baby, it really does." "I'm so glad you're here. I know we didn't," she paused, seemed to catch herself. "I know this was all a bit last minute for you, but you understand, right? Family does things for family." "That's right," I said. "Family does things for family." She hugged me, and I hugged her back. Over her shoulder, I could see Patricia standing by the barn, giving me a small nod. Everything was in place. "You should go get ready," I told Brittany. "Big moment coming up." She squeezed my hands. "I love you, Auntie Jay. I know you do, baby. I know you do." The ceremony was scheduled for 6 p.m. At 5:45, Jason and his groomsmen took their positions at the altar. At 5:50, the bridesmaids started their walk down the aisle. At 5:55, the music swelled and everyone stood. Brittany appeared at the top of the aisle, radiant in white, holding her father's arm. Marcus S.R. looked uncomfortable. He knew what was coming, but he played his part. He walked his daughter down the aisle and took his seat in the front row. The ceremony began. The officiants spoke about love and commitment and trust, about building a life together, about honoring the people who made this day possible. "Before we begin the vows," the officiant said, "Jason and Brittany want to take a moment to thank someone special. Brittany." This wasn't in my script. I looked at Patricia, who looked as confused as I felt. Brittany turned to face the crowd. "I want to thank my Auntie Jasmine," she said, gesturing to me, "for opening her beautiful farm to us for this special day. Auntie Jay, you've always been so generous, and we wanted to thank you properly." Jason produced an envelope. "We know how much this property means to you," he said, "and we wanted to contribute to its upkeep. This is our wedding gift to you, a check for $50,000. The crowd gasped and applauded. $50,000. I felt everyone's eyes on me. Patricia appeared at my elbow. "Don't take it," she whispered. "It's a trap." I walked to the front, aware of 200 pairs of eyes watching me. Jason held out the envelope, smiling. I took it and opened it. The check was there. $50,000 made out to me, signed by Jason Chen. It was also marked payment for venue and SCRVICES rendered. I understood immediately. This wasn't a gift. It was a contract. If I accepted this check, I'd be agreeing that I'd provided services, that we had a business arrangement. It would undermine everything we'd been planning. It would make me look like I'd been charging them all along but was now trying to claim otherwise. They'd outmaneuvered me, or so they thought. Smiled at Jason, then at Brittany. "This is so generous," I said, "but I can't accept it." Brittany's smile faltered. "What?" I said, "I can't accept it." I handed the check back to Jason. "You see, I never agreed to host your wedding here." The crowd went silent. Brittany laughed nervously. "Auntie Jasmine, what are you talking about? Of course you did. We've been planning this for months." "You've been planning it. I was never asked." But she looked at the crowd, then back at me. "You knew about it. You got the invitation. You've been helping us get ready all week." "Because I wanted to see exactly what you were planning." Jason stepped forward. "Mrs. Jasmine, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's discuss this privately. No, we're going to discuss it right here in front of all these witnesses you invited. I turned to face the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for disrupting this ceremony, but you all deserve to know the truth. This wedding is taking place on my private property without my permission. These children sent out invitations listing my address without ever asking if I agreed to host their event. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Brittany's face went pale. Auntie Jasmine, you're confused. You told me, I told you nothing. You informed me this was happening. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone. And I have proof. Text messages where you tell me what's happening, not asking permission. Social media posts where you brag about getting this venue basically free through family connections. Shall I read some of them out loud? You're embarrassing yourself, Linda Chen said, standing up from the front row. She'd been quiet until now, but I'd known she wouldn't be able to resist. Everyone here knows you agreed to this. You're just having one of your episodes again. My episodes? Denise told me all about them. The forgetfulness, the confusion. It's okay to need help, Jasmine. That's why we're here. Sheriff Richardson, I called out. Tom stepped forward, pulling out his badge. The crowd gasped. 2 more deputies appeared from where they'd been positioned. What's going on? Jason demanded. Sandra Michaels stepped forward next, introducing herself as the district attorney. What's going on is that you're all under investigation for attempted fraud, conspiracy, and abuse of an elder. She's not an elder, Brittany protested. The statutes in this state include anyone over 50, Sandra said calmly. But the bigger issue is the fraud. We have evidence that you 3, she pointed at Brittany, Jason, and Linda, have been planning to defraud Mrs. Jasmine out of her property. We have documents, emails, recorded conversations. We know about the incompetency claim you were planning to file. We know about the fake business proposal. We know everything. Linda's face went white. Jason started backing away. Brittany looked at me with something like panic in her eyes. Auntie Jasmine, please, you don't understand. We were trying to help you by having me declared incompetent, by taking my farm, by planning to put me in assisted living. I kept my voice steady, but I let the pain show through. Let her see what she'd done. I raised you, Brittany. I loved you like my own daughter, and you tried to steal everything from me. It wasn't like that, she cried. Jason's mom said she said you'd want this eventually, that you were stealing, I said flatly. And you got caught. Patricia stepped forward with a folder. Sheriff, here's the full documentation. Contracts for wedding services totaling $87,000, all scheduled to be billed to Mrs. Jasmine without her consent. Email chains showing premeditation. Financial records proving the defendant's plan to fraudulently claim her property. This is insane, Jason shouted. You're going to ruin our wedding over a misunderstanding. You ruined your own wedding when you tried to commit fraud, Sandra said. Now we can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is you come with us quietly. The hard way is we arrest you in front of all these people. Brittany burst into tears. Real tears this time, not the fake ones she'd always been able to produce as a child. Daddy, do something. Marcus S.R. stood up. I'm sorry, baby girl, but you did this to yourself. You tried to hurt someone I care about, someone who's been nothing but good to you. I love you, but I'm not going to help you steal. Linda made a break for it then, trying to push through the crowd. The deputies caught her before she made it 3 steps. They handcuffed her right there in front of everyone. Mrs. Linda Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft, and attempted elder abuse. Jason was next. He didn't resist, just stood there looking stunned as they read him his rights. Then they turned to Brittany. She was crying so hard she could barely stand. Auntie Jasmine, please don't do this. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry too, baby, I said quietly, but some lessons have to be learned the hard way. You're really going to have me arrested at my wedding. You tried to take everything from me, everything I worked for. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? She couldn't answer. The deputies led her away in handcuffs, her white dress dragging in the grass. The crowd watched in shocked silence. Sandra addressed the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption, but this property is now an active crime scene. I'm going to need everyone to leave in an orderly fashion, and if anyone has information relevant to this case, please speak with one of the deputies before you go. The guests left in a daze. Some of them looked at me with sympathy. Others looked confused or angry, like I'd ruined something beautiful instead of stopping a crime. I didn't care. Let them think what they wanted. The vendors were trickier. They'd done their jobs, set up for a wedding that never happened. Patricia handled it, explaining the situation, showing them documentation that they would not be paid by Brittany and Jason, who were broke, but that some of them might recover costs through the criminal restitution process. Several of them thanked me for letting them know before they'd actually served dinner and alcohol, which would have cost even more. By 9 p.m., my property was empty except for my allies: Dorothy, Marcus, Patricia, Sandra, Tom Richardson. We sat on my porch with lemonade, exhausted but satisfied. "You did good today," Sandra said. "That took real courage." "I did what I had to do." "The charges will stick," she continued. "We have more than enough evidence." Linda Chen is looking at serious prison time. This wasn't her first offense, and the DA from her previous case is already reaching out about additional charges. Jason will probably take a plea deal. And Brittany? "What about Brittany?" I asked, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. "She's young, first offense. If she pleads guilty, shows genuine remorse, she might get probation and community service. But she'll have a record, and she'll never be able to claim she didn't know better." I nodded. "What happens to the vendors? The money they're owed?" "Jason and Brittany are liable for those debts. They'll probably declare bankruptcy. Linda might too, though given her assets, the court could force liquidation. Either way, it's not your problem. You didn't enter into those contracts. They did." Patricia spoke up. "I'm filing a civil suit on your behalf as well. For damages, emotional distress, the cost of this investigation, the time and resources you spent defending yourself. Even if they don't have money now, the judgment will follow them." "I don't need their money," I said. "It's not about need, it's about accountability." We sat in silence for a while, watching the last of the sunset fade from the sky. My farm looked the same as it always had: peaceful, beautiful, mine. But something had changed. I defended it. I'd fought for it. I'd proven that I was more than capable of protecting what I'd built. "What about Denise?" Dorothy asked quietly. "Your sister, did she know?" I don't think she knew the full plan, but she participated. She let Linda Chen coach her to say I was confused and forgetful. She helped build the case against me, even if she didn't understand what she was doing. I sighed. "I'll have to talk to her eventually, but not tonight." "And when you do?" Patricia asked. "I'll tell her the truth, that she betrayed me, that she chose to believe I was incompetent instead of trusting the woman she's known her whole life, that there are consequences for that too." The news spread fast. By the next morning, local media had picked up the story. "Wedding interrupted. Couple arrested for attempting to defraud venue owner." Some of the articles got it wrong, made it sound like a simple contract dispute. But others got it right, detailed the conspiracy, the attempted incompetency claim, the whole ugly truth. My phone rang constantly. Distant relatives wanting to know what happened. Friends expressing shock and support. A few people, Denise included, calling to yell at me for ruining Brittany's life. I didn't answer most of them. I was done explaining myself, but I did talk to Denise eventually. She came to the farm a week after the wedding, looking haggard and angry. "How could you do that to her?" she demanded before she even got out of her car. "She's your niece. She's my daughter. You had her arrested at her wedding. She tried to steal my farm, Denise. She made a mistake. She's young." "You could have just talked to her instead of—" "I did talk to her. She hung up on me. She told me she didn't need permission because we were family." I crossed my arms. "And you helped them. You told Linda Chen I was confused and forgetful. You helped her build a case to have me declared incompetent." Denise looked shocked. "What? No. I was just— Linda said she was planning a surprise for you, that she needed to know about your health for insurance purposes or something." "I didn't know. You didn't ask. You didn't call me. You didn't check with me. You just assumed that your middle-aged sister, who has successfully run this farm for decades, was suddenly too confused to manage her own affairs." I didn't mean— Denise's anger crumbled. "Jasmine, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what they were planning." "But you should have. You've known me your whole life. You've seen me build this place from nothing. And you were so quick to believe I was incompetent. Why?" Denise couldn't answer. We stood there in the afternoon sun, sisters separated by 40 years of history and one terrible betrayal. "I think you should go," I said finally. "We both need time." "Jasmine, I mean it. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk, but right now I can't look at you without thinking about what you almost cost me." She left crying. I watched her car disappear down the driveway and felt nothing but tired. The legal process took months. Linda Chen pleaded guilty to avoid trial, got 3 years in prison for the fraud attempt plus additional time for her previous offenses. Jason took a plea deal. got 18 months and 5 years probation. Brittany, after a lot of tears and a statement from her lawyer about how she'd been manipulated by Jason's mother, got 2 years probation and 300 hours of community service. The civil suit went through. I won a judgment for $200,000 in damages. They'll probably never pay it all, but the debt will follow them for the rest of their lives. The wedding vendors mostly got their deposits back through insurance or wrote off the losses. The story made them more famous than they would have been from the actual wedding, so some of them actually benefited from the publicity. And me? I went back to my life. I tended my farm. I sold vegetables at the farmer's market. I had dinner with Dorothy and her husband. I went to church on Sundays and worked in my garden on weekdays. But things were different too. Marcus, my brother, started visiting more often. We'd lost time over the years and we were working to rebuild. Dorothy's daughter asked if she could bring her kids to the farm to learn about agriculture, and I said yes. Those children ages 7 and 9 reminded me of Brittany at that age, all curiosity and energy and innocent joy. It hurt, but it also healed something. I also started making changes to the farm. I incorporated it as a proper business, established clear boundaries and policies, made everything official. Patricia helped me create an airtight estate plan. When I die, this farm will go to a land trust that will preserve it as agricultural land forever. No one person will ever be able to sell it or develop it or steal it. It's protected. Finally, truly protected. 6 months after the wedding I got a letter from Brittany. It came to my PO box, addressed in her familiar handwriting. I almost threw it away without opening it. But curiosity won out. The letter was short. Dear Auntie Jasmine, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. What I tried to do to you, what I let Jason and Linda talk me into, it was unforgivable. You were right. I was stealing. I was betraying everything you taught me about honesty and respect and hard work. I'm in therapy now. Court mandated, but I'm actually trying. My therapist says I have to take responsibility for my choices, that I can't blame Jason or Linda or anyone else. I made decisions, bad ones. I know you probably never want to see me again. I understand. But I wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better, to be the person you thought I was when I was a kid following you around the strawberry patch. I'm so sorry, Auntie Jasmine, for everything. Love, Brittany. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't respond. Wasn't ready to. Maybe I never would be, but I didn't throw it away either. Looking back now, a year later, I realized that what happened taught me things I didn't know I needed to learn. I'd always thought family was everything, that blood was thicker than water, that you could trust the people you raised and loved. And to some extent, that's still true. But I also learned that family, like anything precious, requires boundaries. That trust without accountability is just naivety. That loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. Some people say I was too harsh, that I should have just talked to Brittany, set her straight, forgiven her mistakes. They say having her arrested at her wedding was cruel. Maybe it was, but it was also necessary. Because here's what people don't understand. This wasn't about a wedding. It wasn't even about the farm, not really. It was about respect. It was about standing up and saying, "You will not do this to me. You will not take what I built. You will not treat me like I'm too old or too trusting or too confused to defend myself." It was about being Auntie Jasmine, the woman who worked double shifts for 15 years, who bought this land with her own money, who built something real and lasting, and refusing to let anyone reduce me to a victim. I protected what was mine, and I'd do it again. Today, I'm sitting on my porch in the late afternoon sun, drinking sweet tea and watching my horses graze in the pasture. The farm is quiet, peaceful. Mine. Marcus is coming for dinner tonight. We're grilling out, celebrating nothing in particular except the fact that we're family and we're here and we're okay. Dorothy and her husband are coming too, bringing those grandkids who love collecting eggs from my chicken coop. I think about Brittany sometimes. Wonder if she really is trying to be better, or if that letter was just another manipulation. I don't know. Maybe I'll never know. But I know this. I'm 55 years old now, a black woman who's been through enough in life to recognize betrayal when it walks up to my door. I've been underestimated. I've been disrespected. I've been targeted by people who thought they were smarter than me. They all learned the same lesson. Don't mess with Auntie Jasmine. Don't mess with what she's built. And sure as hell don't try to take her farm. Because this land, These 40 acres, this is mine. I earned it, I fought for it. And I'll protect it until the day I die. That's not cruelty, that's survival. That's justice. That's what it means to be a Black woman in America who refuses to be anybody's fool. And if that makes me harsh, so be it. I'd rather be harsh than homeless. I'd rather be cruel than used. I'd rather stand on my own property, holding my head high, than let anyone, even family, take what's mine. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. Brittany learned hers. I hope it sticks. As for me, I learned mine too. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can stand up for myself without apology, that I can love my family and still protect myself from them when necessary. I learned that boundaries aren't betrayal, that defending yourself isn't selfish, that justice isn't always gentle. And I learned that this farm, this beautiful, hard-won piece of land isn't just property, it's proof. Proof that I survived, proof that I built something lasting, proof that I'm more than capable of protecting what's mine. The sun is setting now, painting the sky orange and purple. The horses are heading toward the barn for dinner. The air smells like honeysuckle and fresh-cut grass and home. My phone buzzes, a text from Marcus. Running late. Start the grill without me. I smile, stand up, walk toward the barn where my grill is set up. This is my life now. Simple, peaceful, protected. And no one, not Brittany, not Jason, not Linda Chen, not anyone can ever take it from me again. I made sure of that.